Hello, everyone. While our panelists are taking their places, I want just to make a short introduction to this session. The session called in IT Education in Bulgaria, and so I prepared a 30-minute introduction speech, but then I recognized that the next event after this panel discussion is lunch. And I think that participants are a bit of hungry, so I decided to make it very short. Also, I promised that every panelist would have some time to introduce themselves, but I know that people usually like to talk about themselves, and that would really could take a lot of time. So I will just shortly introduce people whom we have here. We have Ognian Nakov, who is advisor at Ministry of Education. We also have Adriana Panayotova, who is the founder of CoderDojo in Bulgaria. We have Bertrand Meyer, who is professor of software engineering, professor emeritus at ETH Zurich, also the founder of Eiffel software. And so just to open a bit of security here, he is joining Acronis soon and would be a scientific advisor in Acronis. Also, we have Svetlin Nakov, who is the founder of Softuni. He said everybody knows him in Bulgaria, so he even don't need a badge. Also, we have Teodor Panayotov, who is the founder of Coursedot in Bulgaria. And to be honest, it was a question to Sergei Belousov today, and he was asked why Acronis chose Bulgaria. And actually, I was an advisor of Acronis at that time, and I know that one of the most important reasons was the current stage of IT education, and mostly because a lot of initiatives are taking place in Bulgaria in terms of IT education. And also government puts a lot of effort. And at the same time, young Bulgarians are eager to get that education. And just recently, I was aware that Technical University of Sofia has the highest application rate in computer science, Department of Computer Science, or I don't remember, pardon? Faculty of Computer Science. It's almost 10 people per one place, and they said that we can educate much more people if this would be supported by IT companies. So let's try to make this discussion as free as possible. Anyone can express their views. And so I prepared several questions to the people here, so that would be easier to start. So the question first is, how would you describe the current situation of IT education in Bulgaria? So everybody can share your opinion and point of view, and I want Ognian Nakov to start with this because he is representing an authority which, by the way, so takes care about this in Bulgaria and have to make these things much better than it is now.
Yes, thank you, Dmitry. Dear colleagues, I am very pleased to meet you here and to be able to say some words about the successes, problems, etc. in Bulgaria computer science education. First of all, express my joy to be next to Svetlin. We are the same family, but without a relationship. Dear colleagues, I shall continue in Bulgarian. The reason is it would be difficult in some topic to express the nuances between the law, government, etc. My opinion and my position in the ministry. Okay.
I am very happy that 30 years ago I chose to study software development. This long-standing tradition we have in Bulgaria of training programmers and software developers, and one of the reasons why Acronis chose Bulgaria is indeed something that we can be proud of, and I'm one of the founders. What is the current state of play? Bulgaria, as you know, in terms of software engineering, is educating, and I'm talking tertiary education here, and in particular public universities. There are two main areas: computer and information equipment, and also programming. They're taught at Sofia University, which is our host today. And the other is taught at the technical universities. These are the two top rated universities in Bulgaria. I think we have a total of 30 accredited universities teaching IT in one form or another, and they teach 15,000 students, if I'm not mistaken. And I think that out of these 3,000 graduates that we see each year, maybe 500 up to 1,000 max are actually ready to work as programmers, and there is still a significant shortage, and I will give you my opinion on the reasons why. The businesses have much greater demand for IT talent. Acronis itself is planning to hire 500 people, and all other graduates, and knowing some of the tutors, need further training in order to make a successful career in this rather difficult professional field. If we look at how IT specialists are trained, the trend was positive between 1995 and 2003, and I apologize to younger colleagues. Every year we started we used to increase the level of complexity, respectively, achieving better results. And then the trend reversed. I know how I used to teach back in the past and how I teach now. And odd as it may seem, the highly democratic University Education Act we have, which gives full autonomy to the management and governance of universities, means that the government has very limited tools to actually support priorities in the area of higher education. It may want to, for example, convince more students to take up IT studies or computing, but is currently facing a mountain of opposition coming from universities. So this is one of the reasons why we don't have enough software developers.
We still have not learned Bulgarian language, but as I said to Professor Nakov before, that next year when we will have the same, even more interesting conference, I would learn Bulgarian and would understand everything, and we will have this panel discussion in Bulgarian, definitely, and so for participants to make it more convenient. But if anybody else wants to add something to the overview which Ognian provided about the current stage of the education? Okay. So it means that Ognian covered everything, and that is good to have this overview, but also a bit of criticizing of government, but also giving some kind of view to the future of this. And the second question is what kind of demands to IT education are made by market nowadays, and how IT education could handle these challenges. And because we have a professor here who represents the international, let's say it's this way, so best international schools, best international universities in the world, he worked with several ones. Maybe you can answer to this question, Bertrand. Bertrand?
Okay. Thanks, Dima. So you said we shouldn't spend 2 hours introducing ourselves, but still I give a little bit of my background relevant to this discussion. I have a kind of dual perspective because I was most of my career in industry, both in big companies, in startups that I created. But then from 2001, I was a professor. I have been a professor at ETH Zurich, the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology in Zurich, as Dima mentioned, and now I'm involved in other universities as well. And I did I played all the parts. I sang all the songs. I was department head. I was a member of more committees that I could remember, and so on. So I've played both sides of the game, the industry side and the university side. I don't know that much about Bulgaria, but I know a little. In particular, one of the things I did about 10 years ago was with a number of colleagues to start Informatics Europe, which is the Association of European Computer Science Departments. There was no such group before, and so we built this organization from scratch, Informatics Europe. Again, it's the Association of Computer Science Departments, IT departments, and so on in Europe. It also has some research centers as members like Google, IBM, Microsoft, and others. I hope we'll have Acronis soon. And so it's a forum for discussing the common problems of our discipline, and we do lots of great things. I mean, I should say they, because I'm not directly involved anymore in Informatics Europe, but I follow what's going on. And so, for example, for those of you who don't know Informatics Europe, go to the website, informatics-europe.org, and you can see, for example, that we have extremely precise and detailed reports about the state of the discipline, the state of IT education. When we started, there was absolutely no such data. So you could come up with absolutely contradictory claims. You could say in Germany things like that. Oh, no, they are not. In Bulgaria, this is how much a professor makes, and so on. So we had no taboo. We looked at everything, student numbers, professors' salaries. Salary is something a bit touchy in Europe, but still all the data is there, and look at it. And so when we started Informatics Europe around 2005, the interest was very high from all Europe, but particularly from Eastern Europe. And so we had, right from the beginning, very strong Bulgarian participation, and from other countries in the region as well. We had a number of meetings in Eastern Europe, including Sofia, and from then I've kept really good contacts with some of my academic colleagues there. And it's clear that Informatics Europe was fundamental for the development of IT education and the academic community in computer science in Eastern Europe. This was, after all, not so many years after the fall of the Iron Curtain, so the academic community was and still is very eager to be part of the game, to join in the same events and activities and culture as the Western European counterparts. And so I got a direct opportunity to see firsthand how things work here, and of course it's extremely impressive to see the amount of talent and intelligence and enthusiasm that exists. And if I could somewhat pretentiously give advice to finish these observations, my advice would be to shoot at the top. Okay, numbers are important, and we all know that there are not enough developers, and universities throughout Europe, not just in Europe, but if we're talking about Europe, universities are not producing enough software engineers. So there is a temptation just to have programmer mills. who are going to turn out Python programmers by the hundreds. And I think we can aim higher, because we are talking about universities, we are talking about institutions and countries with a very proud record of contribution to science and education. So we should not neglect computer science, we should not neglect science in general. What really strikes me, I'm going to talk a little bit about it in my lecture later this afternoon, is that many of the security issues, for example, that arise are fundamentally computer science issues and non-trivial computer science issues. Problems in advanced concurrency, like the stuff that broke the lunar rover vehicle, problems in invariant checking, which is really what brought the DAO, Ethereum, Bitcoin. So we really need to shoot at the top, because otherwise we're never going to be able to compete with the masses of Indian and Chinese programmers. So set your aims, let's set our aims high and reach for the absolute best. That would be my suggestion.
Thank you, Bertrand. It's really nice. So we have another member of our panel, who is Dimitar Dimitrov. He is a member of management board of Bulgarian Association of IT Companies, Information Technology, right? So you can just a few words. And
hello. Sorry for being late. It's very nice being with you.
cool. And actually, so the question, I just want to repeat it, that what kind of demand of IT education are made by market today? And maybe you, Dimitar, is the best knowledgeable person. So I think that you know best what IT companies require from universities, from other educational institutions, and basically from graduates. So if you can give us a bit of overview on this point, we will be very happy to know, and then we can discuss this.
You know that IT companies lately are switching in from, they don't care much about diplomas and titles. What IT companies require are skills. So the preparation that the educational systems needs to provide to the people that are going to enter into the business world, into the IT companies, should be focused on the skill set that the businesses need. So probably there would be there is a need for such a switch.
Okay, and you want to say something?
I want to add something. We are talking about IT specialist gap. We're talking about gap between the education and business and market needs. And today, the kids are born digital, let's say that. And it's too late to start learning about coding, about technology, about engineering in the university. We believe that the kids should start as soon as possible as, let's say, at first grade, let's say in pre-first grade, they should start to explore technology. Because the kids are creative, they have open-minded, and it's easy to learn when they have a real motivator in front of them, when they see real people who are good in their jobs. Because this way, we in CoderDojo Bulgaria, which is a network of free coding clubs for little kids, where mentors are IT specialists. Kids are learning through game, and we believe that after the 7th grade, after the 12th grade, when they should apply for a university, they will be ready to develop the real skills to be a good engineers and to fill the gap for the IT specialists that market needs.
Yeah, and anybody else on this? Yeah, unfortunately, we have not that much people representing industry here, so we might better move to another question. And so then from that question, you, Dimitar, would learn what educational institutions want from IT companies. So maybe people can tell you what is, how IT companies can contribute to improvements of IT education in Bulgaria. And so anybody wants to say so? You can start.
I thought you asked me.
Yes, sure.
So, let me start with this, is that, you know, once the company needs the certain resource and it's not available, then it starts building it. So all the IT companies, specifically in Bulgaria and maybe anywhere else in the world, started their own training programs, which later expanded into specific educational businesses, which Svetlin maybe might much better than me describe. So in this respect, the companies are contributing a lot to the creation of new expertise that is available in the industry. So what companies can do further is we need to make our impact on the educational system, request and demand from the educational system the change that is fitting our needs. As I said, a switch that is into the direction of building skills, you know. And we see lately some very good examples that the Minister of Education of Bulgaria is trying to, there is a very nice phrase in Bulgarian that I cannot translate right in English. Will you allow me?
You can say in Bulgarian. I think everybody understands here.
The ščupi gipsa. This is to avoid, to overcome the rigidness of the establishment of the educational system and provide flexible ways for the fusion between the business and the IT system, which is very, very important for our future.
Yes, please.
Wonderful. Okay, Teodor here, founder of Coursedot. Short intro, we are a market orchestrator for technology, professional technology classes. Globally, we have about 2,700 instructors all over EMEA. I also sit on the board of alumni of one of the best technology schools in Bulgaria. I also help CoderDojo and advise a number of educational institutions. So where I want to start is, this is nothing unusual. You know, the lack of IT talent is something which is global. It's all over Europe. We work with enterprise companies really all over the place, and it's the same situation everywhere, not enough people. However, I think there are a number of steps which we are beginning to take here, you know, corporate plus the ministry plus universities and everyone else. I think we all see the same picture from different angles. And it's great that we're here on this panel so we can even further our cooperation. But what I think is there's a couple of things we can improve upon. Number one, we can improve the cooperation between universities and schools. So I work a lot with the UK. Some of our main customers are in the UK, and compared to Bulgaria, they started the process 19 years ago. So 19 years ago, they did a study in the UK and found out that what they need to do is do more technological schools associated with universities. And right now they have such schools associated with practically any university. They have several ones with Cambridge, they have several ones with each and every other university which has good IT specialities. So about 50 in 19 years. We have several. We have, you know, you can count them on the number of, on one hand. This gives the opportunity of university teachers to train the fundamental skills of being an IT specialist, be it a developer, be it something else, because we live in a world which is getting more and more connected. So we don't need just developers, we also need hardware developers to work on the Internet of Things, on the new sensors, to connect the Internet, to analyze the big data which is coming our way, and so on. The second one is we can improve upon the cooperation between the companies and the educational institutions, which can be several things. I've spent a lot of time discussing this with the managing directors of all the big companies which have R&D centers in Sofia. All of them are happy to do it, and most of them already have an educational program with which they in some way save themselves. So they produce their own IT talents, but that's not enough for the home market. All of us here, and all of you probably, are struggling for the lack of talent. And what we can do is we can allow the specialists from those companies to actually train in the educational institutions as far as high school. We've seen this, it works, not only in Bulgaria, in many, many countries. However, we need the support of the government, and we also need the support of the companies to do this, because the CSR the CSR programs, the corporate social responsibility programs, they do exist, but they look like something like, we have 40 hours per year, our employees, our developers can do whatever they want to, and they have the choice of teaching a couple of lectures in a high school or, painting benches, to give you a brutal example. And, it's not channeled, and we can do much, much better. All the companies want to help. Then the other way of cooperation would be, we can actually allow the companies to teach full courses. So we have great companies in Bulgaria. We have Acronis. Why doesn't Acronis teach full classes on software development, on secure software development?
Yeah, even Acronis is eager to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then the last thing is something which Adriana touched upon, would be early specialization. So starting at age 18 or 11th grade, which is the current program right now, it's too late. You need a couple of years to get in the basics, and then you need to specialize constantly. There is a tool developed by Gartner, a very famous company. It's called the Gartner Hype Cycle. And you can check it. It's out there every July with all the new technologies. What you can see is that the technologies which 3 years were on the top of the Gartner hype cycle. So we didn't know, when are they going to be in our life, whether they're going to be real or not. Right now we're using them. We're using NFC payment for our subway in Sofia. We're using crypto technologies. We're using Bitcoin and blockchain all over the place. We're using Internet of Things. All our watches are connected. Our home appliances are being connected. All the cars will be connected. So the world is changing. This is not local for Bulgaria. This is global. The time to act is now, and we have to do it together. It can't be just one player.
Thank you. And what I can just add that I think every company would be eager to this kind of collaboration, but also other ways of preparing software developers exist. And I know that you, Svetlin, are running a university, so it's called university, but even not accredited yet, as I know. But at the same time, I explored pretty well your curriculum and what are you doing, and basically those are courses to train practical skills, but you don't provide the fundamentals, and that may be the reason why you cannot get an accreditation here in Bulgaria. But at the same time, I don't know, do you have any issues working with governments or someone? But so I want to address this question to you. What decisions are needed in Bulgaria to make companies like yours to feel comfortable and do things you want to do?
It's a big process in the world, a process of transformation in the entire education, process of moving from the formal and slow changing processes, institutions like the higher education and high school education to the informal. Informal education is getting bigger and bigger and more important, and even companies like Google and Microsoft no longer require diploma because they know that it's not required to be smart and capable of doing good job without a diploma. And the other thing, could also happen. Sometimes people who have diploma are also skillful, but there is no connection between. It was in the past, and the things that we should do is first to understand that learning is different. It's different because of the IT, because of the technology, and because of the changed needs of our society, driven again from and by the technology. For example, in the past, there was a concept called lecture. Someone comes at the desk and writes something and explains something. Now, people don't learn from books. It's not nice, but this happens. People learn from, it was transformation from writing and school classes physically through books to videos, and now the next upcoming thing is interactive learning, which means learn by doing, which is possible also through internet, because companies need skills, need someone who is capable to do something. They don't need people who know much. They should deliver, which is different. And it's our educational system, not only Bulgarian, but at the global scale, has this problem. People are not trained in practical skills, how to do things. They are trained to some formulas, to some theorems, things like that. And maybe the existing educational system should transform, because it cannot serve the needs of the business. How this can happen is a very complicated question, but my opinion is that the governments and the educational system should give more freedom. If you give more freedom to the schools, the private schools, to the informal organizations, to the informal learnings driven by companies, to allow companies to enter in the universities, in the government schools, in the public schools, and everywhere else, to allow some innovative schools to have different program for teaching, for example, software engineers or hardware engineers or even construction engineers, this would help a lot. Just a quick example, how many of you know that in Bulgaria, by law, until 10th degree at school, the sports school, the musical school, and the technical school for developers are obligated to have exactly the same number of lessons for the exactly same things, which means that sportsmen and scientists should learn exactly the same quality of math. And both of them are not allowed to learn programming in 8th degree at school. Just a small problem. I have a private school, and it's a big pain to make it possible for my school students to be allowed to learn programming. Because the law, not the ministry, the law, the government, the assembly disallows this. That's the biggest problem. So it's a problem in the entire earth. So I believe that we should just find the good examples. Examples where university, schools, and industry work together, but practically not just talking about working together, working together. In Bulgaria, we are very good in talking about this without doing this.
Yeah, that was a great point. So Bertrand.
Yeah, I sympathize with the idea that it's not what you know, it's what you can do, but maybe to a point. And I think that when you go to a hospital to be operator, you don't really want the surgeon to Google to find out how many kidneys you are supposed to have.
That's good. Okay, that's really funny, but I can just suggest very simple idea, by the way, so how to combine your approach to the approach of the university. It would be so simple. I know that Softuni has just 1 year program, basically.
So Softuni has 2 years program.
2 years
and
program.
It combines, it's in the middle between traditional universities
I know.
and code academies. Code
Yes.
academies are trying to teach people for 3 months, which is
Right.
completely impossible. And I don't want to produce coders, I want to produce skillful engineers with engineering thinking, which takes 3,000 hours of writing code and solving problems to develop this algorithmic thinking. But this should start early. I also agree that it's too late to try to train people when they are 20 years old. It's already past. They should start at 10 years old. This is the right timing, and this already happens through informal learning, like classes, CoderDojos, and many other initiatives.
So everybody wants to say something.
I think we should refrain from two extreme statements. In one of the previous lectures by Monty on MariaDB, he mentioned a programmer who is making major contributions and is over 80 years old. I don't think, as the French song goes, there's no time to be stupid, but there's also no time to be smart. And I think we should be open for quite a few variants of the notion of programmer. You have the 12-year-old, and you have the 85-year-old, and everything in between. And you have the former musician, you have the mathematician, you have the person who went through full-fledged computer science curriculum, you have the person who learned by himself or herself, you have the person who learned from his father or his mother. There's absolutely everyone. Well, that's one of the beauties of programming.
And I want to add something. The Ministry of Education is one of the best ways to increase the numbers of IT specialists, because this is the channel that we can start learning, that we can start teaching kids from the first grade. At the moment, this is happening thanks to the Scratch program, which is implemented from this year, and the kids are starting coding from the third grade. But there is a problem. It's a great example, great idea, but there is a problem, because all the training materials for the kids are written for the old version of the Scratch. From the start of this year, there is a pretty new version, and all the books are not accomplished for it. What's more, I want to say it again, it's a great idea to start Scratch from the third grade, but there is need to consult all the ideas and all the subjects in the schools with the experts from the private initiatives, with some academies, with some real universities, with the experts. And they are supported by the business. So there are three parts that should work together to become a good product.
Yep, please.
Thank you. To add to one sentence, maybe this one is working. I'm fully supporting what all this said by my colleagues here, and should inform you, now the ministry had prepared and given to the National Assembly a new version of the law of higher education. In this new version, we have enlarged the possibilities of schools to work, to cooperate with universities and somehow with business. This law is given to the National Assembly to be accepted, we hope.
That's really good. Please.
So we need to push the National Assembly to accept this good law. However, I will also add one thing, that there is a program that is started by the Ministry of Education, announced I think yesterday, about IT companies being able to participate into the teaching process in the schools, talking about high schools, and then teachers from the schools are going to be able to enter into the companies and see the practical things that IT companies do. So this is a good step. It's a very tiny one, and we want a lot more, Professor Nakov.
It really improves, and I really see the attention from the Ministry of Education, which works better and better with the industry and supports national programs for teaching people and preparing them for the high school and for the IT industry in the schools. But maybe the biggest problem is demographic. For example, we as Softuni, our biggest problem is that there are not enough people who are capable to be trained. So I'm not sure whether this has a solution. Maybe is a problem in the entire Europe. Maybe it's not a problem in China and India. Maybe, I'm not sure. But I think that there will be no solution until we try to some kind import minds like they do in the US. And that's why the Silicon Valley is located in the US, because they import their engineers. I'm sure we should do our best to train our potential here, but also consider other external channels of attracting talent. I don't mean that when you should import people who...
Chinese people.
Only genius people, yeah, that's why. Not only people who make juniors, we already have them.
So, yeah, unfortunately we don't have that much time, and it's very hard to me to stop this discussion, but maybe the last point, Adriana, you wanted to make it?
I want to say that here in Bulgaria there are a lot of kids that want to teach coding and engineering. When we open free places, more than 2,000, they are over for less than in a minute. This way we need to support how to start teaching kids from the earliest age. There is an interest.
Okay, last one.
I don't think anyone mentioned it, but you know, just one small thing. It shouldn't just be a boys' business. I think we need more women in this community as well.
Yeah, but you see, we have at least one, but that's also great. Just to conclude, I've heard a lot of good suggestions, and so I think that new law have to be even more sophisticated. So when the good things which could be done in Bulgaria is, first of all, implement IT education at schools, so maybe starting from the first grade. And that really could be done through educating kids by robotics classes, because robotics has everything which is needed to train programming skills and also soft skills, and we did it in Russia, and that worked really well, so we just put it in every school. Another thing which is more controversial is to combine traditional approach of the mature universities like Sofia or Sofia State or technical universities by just them having 2 years teaching students fundamentals and then adding Softuni courses to their curriculum, and maybe Softuni can be even paid or subsidized by government to provide those courses, not to those who pay by themselves, but to all students in Bulgaria. That would be really grand. So just very simple way to improve an education everywhere. But that's, I think, too controversial at this moment. Sorry. So thank you for this discussion. Hopefully, yeah, you like, everybody is hungry, so just give us applause and you've got your minutes. Thank you very much.